And welcome to the Two Medics podcast. Just a quick shout out to our sponsors, mah.uk.com for medical accountancy needs, and also to Lifeline Healthcare Group.co.uk for the best locum rates. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Two Medics podcast. My name is Imran Lasker. I'm a consultant radiologist.
Hi, I'm Thushikan Wardner. I'm a cardiology registrar, subspecialising in intervention.
It's just the two of us today. We are going to be talking a little bit about what's been going on in MedTwitter this week. But Thush, how you been? What's been happening this week?
I've been good, thank you. I've got my holiday beard on, so had the week off after my nights, and we went glamping.
Glamping, that's right, yeah, mate.
I asked for some advice online about it, and took some advice. So we took like a whole load of things to kind of cook on the barbecue. Thing was that it had like its own kitchen, so I did the barbecue the first day, and then I was a bit fed up with like smelling of smoke, so then we just used the cooker. It was really good. I had a really good time. There were loads of spiders and wasps, and I wish I'd have thought about taking some kind of wasp repellent thing because it was really stressful. Like the number of times I had to get wasps out of the tent.
Okay.
But it's good overall. The kids had a good time, I think. And yeah, I feel kind of rested. How about you? Have you had a good week?
Mate, yeah, I mean, it's just been work as always. I've been going to the gym more often, which is good. That's always a good positive. Yeah, I enjoy that. That's good. But I mean, I'm about to go glamping soon. It's not something I normally do. And I've always thought to myself, why would anyone, as a race, or I guess is maybe the best phrase, we've kind of evolved to the point, or got to the point where we live in houses for a reason. Yeah, we don't go live in tents, and so I think the first time I ever did any sort of camping style things when I went up Mount Kilimanjaro back in second year medical school during that summer, and I thought I'm never going to go into a tent ever again in my life. It was the worst experience ever. Like it was the worst, and so this time I thought glamping seems all right. Like it seems like it's a bit more nice. But I've kind of, like I was telling you, it's not far from where my in-laws are. So if it gets a bit rubbish, I'm bailing. I'm going to just go back to my in-laws and just stay there for the night and then forget the whole glamping thing. But I'm giving it a go. Let's see how it goes.
It's quite nice. I think like recently with the like, especially with Lils anyway, she will, if we kind of sometimes when Erin wakes up really early in the morning, we try and placate them with our phone just to buy like an extra 10 minutes sleep or whatever. But Lil's like sometimes there'll be adverts playing and she'll just watch it. Just like it'll be whatever. She can probably watch static, like just stare at that screen for ages.
True.
And so we kind of thought, at least with glamping, it's an opportunity to kind of like break away from the screens and stuff and just encourage her to. I mean, we went for 3 nights.
3.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
I know, right? And it's kind of cool. Like, we kind of did a bit of exploring. We played some games. We read a book. Read a book, as in a longish book. And it's good. I thought as like a bit of a kind of deplugging thing. So I definitely would go again.
Really? Okay.
But definitely at the time I was like, this is a very white thing to do. This is very
cool. I was thinking, I didn't want to say it, but yeah, I was like, wow, he's gone full. He's gone. I mean, fair enough, it's going to happen, but he's gone. But actually, the place I'm going to is not far from your parents, so you're thinking maybe trying it out if it's any good.
Yeah.
On to Twitter this week. We I thought it'd be quite a good one to start with. Layla, who turns up on our podcast every now and again. I wonder if she actually listens. I bet she doesn't. Anyway, Layla.
She's too cool.
Yeah, she's far too. I mean, she is, isn't she? I mean, she just. I think when she pops up on my feed, I'm like, how are you like? I don't know, this awesome. It just comes across awesome.
Like literally, the place where she lives, it looks really like arty, and the decor is really cool, and she knows all the kind of hip restaurants and stuff. That's why I'm like, she probably does listen to podcasts, but it's probably from some like really niche like podcast that's based like somewhere else, and it talks about kind of jazz music and types of coffee bean somewhere,
Yeah, exactly. But she had this tweet: I had a surgeon play Eric Clapton's Layla in theatre as I was transferring a patient today. Quite nice to have my own theme tune, really. And yeah, theme tunes, eh? What would your theme tune be, Thrusha?
I have so many. Like I remember, this is crazy. Taylor Swift, yeah. No, but like as a 16-year-old, I definitely used to have like a bit of a one of the kind of many daydreams I'd have. What would be my WWE entrance music?
Oh, awesome! Yeah.
And that probably have to be some kind of like metal song.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it'd have to be metal. I mean, I don't think it'd be hip hop. I think it'd have to be metal because it'd have to kind of encompass like, you know, the rage of my teenage life. But kind of now, you know, being a kind of uncool camp middle-aged man dad thing, I'd probably embrace it and go for like Bonnie Tyler, Holding Out for a Hero. And, you know,
okay,
so like, you know, in the cath lab, I'd want that song playing like, ooh, ooh, how about yourself?
I mean, since becoming a radiologist, I've always thought to myself it would be "Dancing in the Dark" by Bruce Springsteen.
Oh,
it seems to be an appropriate
wow.
song. Yeah, don't you think it seems appropriate? Like, you know, doing what I do in my job is pretty much in the dark most of the time.
That's a good one.
But I think you know, like, I don't know if you know. Have I said this to you? I've always been a massive fan of Nassim Hamed, the boxer, to the point that I actually wanted to call my son Nassim, but everyone, once they realised why, it got banned. Like, it just got completely denounced straight away. It was gone, never going to happen. But to me, he was like, you know, the first time I'd seen anyone that was a Muslim person on TV that was kind of just doing really cool stuff, and it was just an amazing, to me anyway. I don't know what other people think these days, but even when I look back at his boxing career, I think, man, this guy was just awesome, entertaining. He was a fantastic boxer. And I think when he fought Kevin Kelly, he had this ridiculous song. It was called by Red Rat. I can't remember what it's called. Maybe you should type it in and have a look at it if anyone's interested.
Yeah.
Or just look at the entrance, because he did this entrance and it just cracked me up. It was just so ridiculously Nassim Hamed. And it was a phenomenal fight.
Was it a flying carpet?
No, that was later on, and he ended up losing that one. I think he also won when he came on to Puff Daddy, and I think he went to fight I can't remember, Marco something. I can't remember his name. I don't know. I can't be able to forget. But against Kevin Kelly, he just walked out to this ridiculous like reggae kind of track, and he's just not taking himself very seriously, and it was hilarious. And I always thought that would be I'd just do the same thing as him. He just seemed to be cool.
Do you know his son? It shows how old we are.
Yeah. His sons are boxers now. Yeah.
That's
he's got two sons, and they're both boxers now.
Amazing.
Yeah. So they're coming up now. But he's man. I'd love to meet that guy one day. He was awesome. I still think he's awesome. I know he lost that fight, and people are like, oh, he should have come back. But I always think to myself, like, when people say stuff like, oh, you know, boxers should come back, you're basically asking them to go into a ring, get punched in the face. Yeah. And at some point in his life, he probably thought, you know what? I don't want to be punched in the face anymore. I just don't want it. I can't be bothered.
I remember like Amir Khan saying like, oh, like I can't wait to like one day just kind of not have to do this anymore and just get fat. And I remember the way he said it. I felt it, because I was like, I see what you mean. You know, like you just have to kind of be on it like all of the time. Like, you know, your gear, like everything's geared towards it, like your diet and everything you do. And then
I do wonder what drives him, though, because, like, in truth, after, especially someone like Amir Khan, he's been very rich for a very long time. Like, you know, he was well into the millions by the time he was in his early 20s. He could have stopped a long time ago. But then whenever you listen to these boxers, they're always about leaving a legacy. They want everyone to know that they're the undisputed champion. And I think someone like me would be like, you know what, I don't need you guys to know whether I'm champion or not. I think I'm pretty good. And I've just had a payday. So you won't be seeing me again. That would be like my entire career. One fight, one lose or win. I've got my paycheck and I'm gone. I don't need anything else. But I think Mayweather said it pretty well. He was like, look, anyone who steps into that ring will believe that they're the best fighter in the world and therefore would want to prove it. So fair enough. Like, I guess that's what puts him in there. I mean, who in their right mind wants to get punched in the face, man? I don't know. Is anyone out there? I mean, you quite like MMA.
Yeah.
I don't know, mate. I can't watch that stuff anymore.
Yeah, I didn't like getting hit in the face. I quite like Mike Tyson's line, wasn't it? Like, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
So true, isn't it?
Or smacked in the mouth, isn't it? I think
everyone's got a plan until they get smacked in the mouth. That's probably true. Like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that.
It's nice to put down.
It's so true. It is. He had some good lines over the years, yeah.
He did. So speaking of lines, though, I just thought we'd move on to Bella Rossetti's tweet, which said, I went on a training course today and got asked the dreaded fun fact question. Do you have a fun fact about yourself? She went with her second toe is bigger than my first toe, which, I mean, I also have that issue.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
is that a thing?
Yeah, it's a thing. I think it's
I've got a few things. I mean, I'm double jointed. My fingers are double jointed. My elbow is double jointed. I can lick my nose. I can move my Adam's apple. I'll show you my arm. This is nasty. Ready?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's gone the other way.
That's
my fingers.
Cool. Oh
the other
yeah,
way. Yeah, they're really double jointed. But yeah, they are. That's probably the only. I don't know if there's anything fun about it. Interesting, maybe, possibly.
So, what would
Yeah.
you pick then as your fun fact? It wouldn't be it wouldn't be joint related, obviously. Then.
Oh, I don't know, man. I mean, what obviously, I clearly overcomplicating the situation, right? But what constitutes a fun fact? What is fun? Like, what do they mean by that? Because
Yeah.
obviously, to me, and the other thing is like the things that I enjoy are not necessarily things that other people enjoy, right?
Oh God,
That's the problem, right?
yeah. Thinking about this too much.
Exactly. Like, someone would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm really into football." I was like, "No, mate, I find that boring. I can't do it." I mean, there was something on another tweet there, wasn't there? I can't remember which one it was.
Wait, did you meet Sandra Bullock? Did you go to a premiere?
No, yeah. So, did you go to that? So, this is you're talking about back in Habs, okay?
Yeah.
There were, I think, for some reason, I think Habs was supporting a particular charity, and then the charity allowed us to have tickets to go to a premiere. So, I went to a premiere to a movie called Proof of Life. We had Russell Crowe and Meg Ryan,
Okay.
and I went there. It was quite nice. It was an amazing experience to turn up and be on the red carpet, walking around with all these stars, and feeling like you're one of them. And people are, they won't take photos either. Who on earth are you? And then I think later on another lot of tickets came out, and this time it was for Miss Congeniality 2.
Yeah. Oh, right.
And my parents would not let me go because the GCSEs were coming up, and I really wanted to go.
Right.
And it's such a shame because people have watched Miss Congeniality 2, but no one's watched Proof of Life. They don't know what on earth that movie is. It just kind of died. But yeah, I didn't go, but Sandra Bullock was there apparently, and even did a speech and stuff at the Leicester Square Odeon and things like that. So yeah, I didn't go. You didn't go either?
No, I didn't go either. I was never allowed to go to these things, probably because of GCSEs, A levels, medical school.
Yeah, it's such a shame, isn't it?
Yeah, parents ruin everything. Yeah. But I thought that might have been your fun fact, but I guess.
No, it's not. No, I don't have any. I mean, the fun fact's going to be like the stuff that are true to both of us. Like one of the guys from our uni ended up being in a band called No and the Whale. He was a drummer. Yeah, that was one guy.
Is that a fun fact about us? No, we can't.
No, I mean, otherwise, it'd be people from school who started restaurants and big companies and stuff like that, done very, very well, who popped up in the papers and things like that. I could lie and say I'm Riz Ahmed's cousin. Yeah,
you're not.
Fine.
You've met Carl Kennedy as well.
Yeah, I mean, so have you. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, it's a fun fact.
That is a fun fact. Oh, how fun. Are we boring? Why do people even listen to this? I don't know. Sorry, I don't know. Right, anyway, I bet you a whole load of people have just switched off now. Let's move on.
Let's move on. Can I quickly just tell them this like nice story?
Yes, go for it. Yeah.
So So this is from Jamil Jan Kuchai. And
oh yeah, that's nice.
And it was quite nice. So he goes, "Let me tell you a story. This is Susan Lung," and he's got a picture of him and Susan Lung. And the post was made on the 14th of August, if you want to check it out. So he goes, "She taught me to read and write in a single year when I was 7 years old. I've been looking for Susan, hoping to thank her in person for almost 20 years. And then she surprised me at my reading last night. So I came to the US at the age of 1.5 years old, but I grew up in a household that only spoke Pashto and Farsi. So when I started kindergarten, I didn't know a single word of English. I don't think my teacher knew how to handle an ESL student. He used to punish me for not understanding this. I assume ESL meant like the limited use of English. Anyway, So he goes, "We moved a lot in those days as my father searched for work, and I went to 3 different schools in 1 year. I continued to struggle with my English. Then after first grade ended, my family went back to Afghanistan for the summer. I fell in love with Loga, but I'd completely forgotten all the English I'd learned in school. I remember on the morning of my first day in 2nd grade, I could only recall 10 letters from the alphabet. I was way behind and on track to be left back. But then I had the fortune of meeting Miss Lung. Miss Lung sat with me almost every single day after school, giving me extra lessons in reading and writing so I could catch up with the rest of the class. By the end of the year, I'd learned to read and write, and by 3rd grade, I was winning awards for reading comprehension. After that, my family moved a few times more, and I lost track of Miss Lung. For years afterwards, all throughout high school and college, I tried to find Miss Lung to thank her for everything she'd done for me. I searched Google and social media. I called my old school and visited the district office, but I kept hitting dead ends. The main problem was that I didn't know Miss Lung's first name. She'd always been Miss Lung to me. In my mid-20s, I'd pretty much given up on the search. I figured Miss Lung had moved to a new state, a new life, but a few years later, after 99 Nights in Logo came out, so this guy's a successful author now, I should have mentioned, someone reached out to me out of the blue on Facebook. It was Miss Lung's husband. Apparently, Alan Lung heard about an article I wrote for LitHub where I mentioned Miss Lung. He asked me if I wanted to speak with her that night. My family and I all gathered together for the call. My parents had been waiting to thank Miss Lung for years as well. When I finally got the chance to hear Miss Lung's voice, tears welled up in my eyes. I told her that everything I'd accomplished I'd owed to her, and that I thought of her all the time, and I'd been searching for her for years. We all cried that night. Unfortunately, this was at the height of the pandemic, and we were still quarantined at the time. We promised to meet in the future. After that, my wife and I had a child. The Afghan government collapsed. My beloved grandmother died. I finished at Stanford, and I published The Haunting of Haji Hotak. It was a hectic time, and we lost touch. But then last night, after my reading, Miss Lung's husband, Alan, rushed up to me, introduced himself, and brought me over to Miss Lung. And 7-year-old me finally got to hug my second grade teacher again. We chatted and smiled and cried a little. I signed her book and tried to write on the page what I couldn't express with my voice, bless. I took down their numbers and invited them for dinner. My father always used to say in Pashto that every child is a rocket filled with fuel, and all they need is a single spark to lift off into the sky. Miss Lung, he said, was my spark. Throughout my life, I've been blessed to encounter a series of remarkable teachers that have given me their time and consideration and knowledge, but everything really began with Miss Lung. And I thought it was important that people hear her story and that they know how much one teacher in 1 year can change a child's entire life. That's nice, isn't it?
That is nice. It kind of almost relates to what Rosie tweeted about. Did you see that, where she said nature versus nurture? And then someone had written into, I guess it must be on these papers, saying there's another report which seems to blame society for the disparity in children's achievements, failure baked in from early age at school. It was on August the 16th. Should it not also be acknowledged that inherited intellectual capacity plays some part in child's prospects? Children of high achieving and consequently high earning parents are clearly more likely to succeed, and the reverse is also true. It is not all about material disadvantage. Genes are a factor too. This is another one of these sort of people. Yeah. Anna Webster, and anyway, this is just so kind of like blind to your own privilege, and even when what you spoke about is so true, and how one person can help a child maybe come out and you're clearly quite intelligent and end up being quite high achieving, and it's not about that's not about nature, that was nurture as well, wasn't it? And there's so many let's say buffoons as it were, if that's the right phrase to say, who do who do remarkably well, but they're just not as clever as others. So I just feel like, I mean, we've said this before, society is just full of we're in a situation where the intelligence stuff is probably quite evenly distributed amongst the country, but the opportunities are not.
Absolutely.
And therefore that's why you get certain sects of people doing really well. And I'll tell you, like back in Habs, actually, I got a summer job, and I was working in Superdrug, and there was a guy that I was working with. And me being the young man that I was, I thought everyone else would do A levels too. Like I just thought that was the thing. Like everyone does A levels. So I was talking to him one day, and he was really smart. He'd pick up things really quickly. I noticed that he was very, very quick. And when I was talking to him, he had a really good memory and stuff. And I thought, man, this I feel like I'm back at Habs. Like everyone at Habs was so clever. And there's another guy that I bumped into who's very clever. So one day I was talking to him, and I was like, and he goes, "What are you going to do next, mate?" And I was like, "Well, I'm going to do my A levels. I want to become a doctor." He goes, "Oh, right, cool, man, good for you. What about you?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm not clever enough for A levels. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to, work a Superdrug, maybe work my way up." And I'm like, "What do you mean you're not clever enough? You're one of the smartest people I've met. What are you talking about?" And he was like, laughed it off like I was taking the mick, but I wasn't. He was really smart, like really, really smart. But the difference between us was that I came from an environment that I didn't. He came from the environment that he did, and that it made him believe that he wasn't smart enough to do A levels. I promise you, mate, that guy would have smashed it. I just know it if he just had half a chance, but he didn't.
The funny thing is that he's kind of like bought into the same thing that this person's bought into, that they felt kind of butthurt enough to write into a newspaper to say that maybe the kind of children of rich kids, maybe there is kind of supremacy there. And it just kind of shows that not only are like someone who's written something like this, that's not going to be someone from an underprivileged background that's going to have written this letter. It's going to be someone who is rich and probably has achieved a little bit, because I mean, like, why else would you kind of defend that position? It just seems like to me that not only do they have to have they kind of been from a position of privilege whereby they've had wealth and they've probably achieved something, but they also have to feel that that was a kind of like divine right written in their genes, and that they've kind of truly earned it. Like the idea that actually the playing field isn't completely level, is like completely balks, because it just kind of shows the fragility that's there. And that's what I find kind of annoying, really, because not only do they have to have all of the material advantages, but they also have to have the narrative that supports them as well. Of like, yes, you're also the hero of the story. Like,
I think the key thing here, and I think this is something I've realised recently and I mentioned this book before called The Unfair Advantage, is that they've never asked themselves what unfair advantages have they got to get them to where they've got to. And I think all of us, whether you realise or not, have got unfair advantage over other people. You just got to know what they are. And some of us are going to use those unfair advantages to our advantage, and some of us are not even going to realise that they're advantage in the first place.
Yeah.
So, like, for someone, I was thinking to myself, like, maybe it's disingenuous in me saying that anyone could do radiology and anyone could do what I do. Because actually, when I look back, there's glaring unfair advantages I've clearly had over other people, which maybe makes it easier for me to do what I do. And the same for you, like for you to get into cardiology to do what you do, there would have been unfair advantage. You bumped into the right person that helped you do the right things. These are unfair advantages you need to recognize. So for you to turn around and say, oh, well, anyone could do what I do, that's not entirely true. And anyone can do what I do, not entirely true. We'd always have to quantify the fact that there are massive unfair advantages that we have between each other, let alone the general population to do what we do. But it's recognizing that. That's the problem. When people don't recognize they've got an unfair advantage, then they come out of this drivel where they're like, well, it's, I don't know, everything was fair and I was just clever enough and I worked really hard and that's how I got it. I've had no advantage. I made it from the bottom. I was like, no, mate, you didn't make it from the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. They have to, it's just amazing though, isn't it? They have to have that as well. It kind of does move us on. There's this kind of like little tweet that I thought was kind of a funny thing to mention, which is that, and it's relating to the film Children of Men. Have you seen Children of Men?
I haven't yet. I've heard about it so many times and I've still not watched it.
Good.
Still not watched it.
But anyway,
I feel like we had this conversation a lot. Imran, have you watched it?
Yeah, mate. You should watch it. It's really good, mate. I feel like you'd like Clive Owen. I feel like he's someone.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of things.
It's basically about a kind of post-apocalyptic world. Although one of the jokes is that kind of actually maybe the apocalypse had just happened in England and the rest of the world is probably fine. But anyway, there's somebody who's written something along the lines of, it goes, so this is by Tom Wyman, and the handle's at Health Unto Death. Last year there was this report which named Britain as one of the nation's best placed to grapple with the effects of climate change, given our climate and resources, so presumably relating to wind and solar power. And then they've written, just a shame about our, personality. And I think that kind of like, it's funny, isn't it? Because like the privilege is there, but if you look at the kind of NIMBYist, like Brexit voting, about everything, climate change doesn't even exist, kind of like culture that seems to be.
Hold up. Let's take a step back here, though. I mean, they're saying that, but I mean, the Britain is not self-sufficient, is it? I mean, not really. I mean, I think I've often thought about like why. When you go back in history, why was it the Brits that decided to go halfway around the world and just take over the whole place? And I think it's got a lot to do with the fact that there wasn't very much going on in the first place in this country. Like they're probably growing potatoes. Think, you know what? I'm sick of potatoes.
Mate,
I don't want potatoes anymore.
Oh, but that's funny, isn't it? Because they went and they did all this stuff. They colonized everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Then they turned up to Bangladesh and like, you know what? That's a mango. I like that mango.
No, but
not only do I own that mango, I own all of you lot and everything else that you've got. You're now mine.
Yeah,
that's what they did.
After all that,
because of potato.
After all them mangoes, after all them spices and stuff, they still haven't incorporated it. Yeah, still incorporated. It's still salt and pepper, love.
No, but the point is, there's a reason they left the island in the first place because it wasn't that great. So if you're going to say to me that, England's got a lot and it could survive on us, no, it couldn't. What are they going to survive on? Potatoes again? Yeah. I'm sorry. There's only so many packets of crisps that you people can have. Like, you need to move on.
What do you mean, you people?
I include myself in this because I do still classify myself as a Brit, even though some people in Dartford or whatever say I'm not. I do. I do still classify myself as a Brit. Well, but go on. Sorry.
Keeping on to things that are quintessentially British, shall we talk about tea bags? Did you see that?
Yes. That came up, didn't it? I think that came at like just after we'd done the podcast episode last week, so we never really talked about the tea bag. So, I mean, Theresa, you do a bit of tea bag in your life. Tell us about the tea bag.
Thanks, mate.
Allegedly, I wouldn't know.
Say the story.
Smart Men Twitter. There you go. You have it. Exclusive. Yeah.
So, this is in reference to. I think there's a TikTok video that kind of outlines about how their dad works for the NHS, and they got a little kind of it's like the size of an old CD case, like a flat. Well, more
awesome.
of
The game of the Oasis album. I've always wanted the Oasis album.
yeah,
Give it to me. Yes,
it's like
that's
a
going to
little
help me.
flat sleeve CD
Yes.
shaped. It says a little treat to say thank you, and this is from
awesome.
Worcester. I was going to say Worcester Acute Hospitals NHS Trust, and it looks like it's a single tea bag there, Jeff. Single tea bag.
Single tea bag. Yeah. So that was to try and help them feel appreciated. Like, you know what, we appreciate you. Here is a tea bag for all the efforts. And then I think they even it was on No Context Brits. It came up on, didn't it?
Yeah.
That Twitter account. And then the trust actually replied. Did you see that? They replied.
No, what did they say?
Yeah, they replied. They said,
actually,
it's such a shame that a nice, small, kind gesture has been taken in this way, or something like that. They'd really tried to like defend themselves. Like, mate, you gave someone a tea bag.
How much?
Come on. It probably cost them more to get it packed by the company that was packing it than the tea bag itself. I mean, that's just how ridiculous that entire situation was. I mean, come on.
Did you see like Mehal's take on it, which was taking out the tea bag, and on the back of the tea bag it says GMC referral.
Yeah, something to make you feel better, isn't it? Yeah. It does feel a bit empty, isn't it? I mean, one tea bag after all the work and effort. This is one of the situations, again, is like, how do I make the workforce feel better? Is that, give them a pay rise. Let's give them a tea bag. No. Give them a pay rise. No, we're going to give it. Honestly, the tea bag's going to be the one. It's like, no. All the money you're about to spend on the tea bag, maybe just give them, like, I don't know, a bonus or something. No. I think the tea bag's going to be the one. We're going to be all over the papers. We appreciate our workforce.
They're going to love this. Trust me. Just trust me on this. Single. It looks like a Tetley tea bag. No, mate.
I know, of all things as well. Like, come on, at least be Yorkshire. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Gosh, what a disaster.
Yeah, I love all these little things that pop up. Like, have you seen this other one that came up about? I think it was an Amazon workforce area where that the computer suddenly becomes a screen to count down and to have a mind moment positive affirmation. Repeat this phrase during each expansion of the circle, and the circle kind of expands. Even in chaos, I can feel peaceful. I notice the good. While socially distant, I'm emotionally close. I mean, this is one that, can you imagine it's popped up in the middle of me reporting? I'd break that computer screen. Look, I'm about to write the report, about to write a conclusion and send this off, and you suddenly told me to have a mind moment positive affirmation. Forget that. I would throw that screen out the window and then cry because these screens cost a lot. But so this is just another one of those things, isn't it? Go on.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, so there was this thread from Claire Doc Davies who says, well, what well-being initiatives at your workplace do make a difference to you? Can you think of anything?
I mean, they've been giving us a day off for our birthday.
Have they?
For last year, yeah. I think since the pandemic, they gave it last year, and I think they're going to give it this year. It's a nice gesture, I suppose. Well, like I said, I deal in money and time, so if they're going to give me time, I'll take it. Thank you very much. It's worth more than anything to me. So that's nice. Nice gesture. I'll take that. I don't want your tea bags or anything else. I'll take the time back. How about you?
Well, as in for my workplace?
Really. Or what would be a good idea?
I made a little list.
A pay rise. Oh, yes, you did make a list.
Yeah,
tell us your list.
I'd like more staff and better pay obs, better allocated parking, even better if it's free, regular investment in nights out or days out, meal subsidised, protected, regular, relevant teaching, because that can be just a joke, proactive supervisors and supervisions, on-site gym, and then free tea bag.
This reminds you, once when I was working the New Year, I think I was doing the Christmas shift in one of the hospitals. I was on call, and the radiographer came to me and said, "Here's an envelope for you." And I thought, oh my God, it's finally happening. Like, I'm in the Back to the Future movie, and my future myself has given me an envelope to read, and I'm going to now be in a time machine. I'm going to know exactly what I need to do next. And I opened it, and it was a tenner. Oh. It's like a £10 note. And I'm like, why have you given me a £10 note in this envelope? It was, the trust of giving because you're doing the night shift for Christmas, they're paying for dinner, and that's your dinner. Oh. They actually gave me cash. I couldn't believe it. But it felt amazing. I was very happy with that McDonald's that night, because that was like a nice gesture. I thought it was a cool gesture. Yeah. Give me a tenner an envelope, Yeah. Little things like that do make a difference. I don't know if that tea bag would make that much. I think I probably would have had a tea. but I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much as I did the £10. But it does happen from time to time. You get a bit of a surprise, don't you, from these
I think
places?
it's quite nice when you're busy on call and then someone offers to make you tea.
Yeah, with a tea bag given to you by the trust, and you're running around for a cup of tea, and then you realise, oh my god, yeah, that one time the trust gave me a tea bag. This is the one. This is its moment. This is the moment that it's been waiting for to make me feel better about working in this place. That's it. That's what we've been waiting for.
Mm.
And there was something else that popped up that kind of caught my eye. It was someone called Claire C. At Claire McConnelly. And this is one of the situations where you feel as though maybe they could have done better. So I feel like with the tea bag, we feel they could have done better. This one says 15 years, 2 countries, 16 hospitals, 24 consultant trainers, 10 NHS trusts. This is what my training experience looked like when I raised concerns in pediatrics at an NHS trust at ST8. And then what happened? Released from training by HEE. The end. These kind of stories are scary, don't you think? Because it does make you wonder, like, okay, you look how much time this person's put in, how much effort they put in, and then at the end of it, like, what, they're just going to get kicked out because they don't matter. Like, the place doesn't need another pediatrician. It's a silly thing, isn't it? I mean, I don't think a tea bag's going to help in this situation, is it?
No. It's funny because people have said, so wrong. Have you raised this with the Royal College for Child Health? Raising concerns is an essential part of practice. And the reply from Claire McConnelly is, thanks, Nick. If you look at my tweets with screenshots of information from the Employment Tribunal, the head of school in paediatrics involved in my case became the president of the Royal College. So,
yeah,
2 thumbs up for that.
Yeah. It's who you know, mate. Honestly, it's
disappointing.
Yeah.
So,
what else?
I mean, that wasn't the only kind of story, unfortunately and unsurprisingly, of toxicity within our kind of supervisors and kind of governing bodies. And I guess a thread that's kind of actively doing the rounds now is one that seems to have emanated from the Junior Doctors UK Reddit.
I love that. Yeah.
And I know we didn't really talk about this in detail much because it's still kind of ongoing before we started recording. But essentially, there's a post on Junior Doctors Reddit, and it goes through a number of different points. Have you seen this, or do you want me to read it out?
Yeah, read it out.
The title goes, "We need an official anti-GMC movement." I've got to say, like, even reading this out loud, it's kind of a bit uncomfortable. So it goes, "I'm willing to wait for pay restoration to be achieved and done for this to happen, but I have a rough timeline in mind. I propose that by February 2023, we should know where pay restoration stands and make plans for changing or completely getting rid of the General Racist Council. I'm looking for a name, and GMC is what I've been proposed so far. What I'm looking for the community, leaders. This isn't a matter of you and I. It's in an ideal world, I'll be anonymous and so will you. However, we need to create a structured leadership." I mean, I'm not entirely sure what... Anyway, what are they leading here? We need to coordinate and create awareness amongst...
the power. He's trying to be like that Guy Fawkes guy from that movie.
It's funny, isn't it?
The one of the mask.
Yeah, it's like we need to coordinate and create awareness amongst non-medics. Awareness of what, mate? This is point number 2. Soft campaign online and coordinated movements and posts, and this can be followed by a hard campaign in the media, lobbying and direct replacement of the parallel body that we must create as an alternative to the GMC, because one thing people fear more than anything seems to be some kind of vacuum. Well, it's not so much that, it's more like, I think generally, isn't there the understanding that there needs to be some form of regulation? Or at least there should be.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think that, go on, yeah.
And then it goes, we need a effing regulator that goes after anyone and everyone carrying out dodgy clinical care and not just doctors. Not just doctors. So we can't be in a situation where a doctor can get done for doing aesthetics and Gemma from the corner beauty shop is pumping people with filler into superior labial artery and half their mouth is falling off and they can get away with it because they aren't in the GMC scope. It's just... So, okay, so we're regulating Gemma from the corner shop as well.
It's trying to say that there should be some sort of general health regulator rather than just for doctors. I'm sure that's a common sentiment. I think a lot of people don't like... We've had this conversation before, isn't it? Like, a lot of people don't like the ideas of, fillers in general and Botox injections, let alone non-doctors doing those things, right? They don't They don't like that
But it
idea
keeps
of
going,
doing
mate.
remotely doctor things.
Like,
Does it keep going?
it keeps going. Point 6, we need a regulator that's part public and part private. We should provide some funding, but the majority of this funding should come from the government, or ideally the whole thing should be government funded. The whole steering or executive community should be 7 out of 10 doctors, and doctors should be represented in every part of the organization. If someone that is regulating doctors has never worked an award, never done a night shift, and never carried 3 pages because of absences, that they aren't educated or equipped with the experiences to know what a doctor faces, they can't in any universe then regulate a doctor. But they can regulate Gemma from the corner shop. How this is absolute what? This basically is like a bit of a rant, and they disagree with the GMC, and I get that because I mean there's been a lot of like racist rulings and stuff that just doesn't make any sense, and certainly I do kind of wonder what our fee is paying for. But I just kind of feel like this, and their sentiment is, oh, you guys are just, everyone fears a vacuum. I don't think that's it. I think it's kind of weird claims like this to like replace it with some monolith that doesn't really make any sense.
I mean, it sounds like you're going to replace the GMC with like another GMC, but call it something else, and probably end up with the same problems because that's what happens in organisations that get powerful. This feels like one of those Jerry Maguire moments. This probably person had a slice of bad pizza and decided to write out their mission statement right out on Reddit. I mean, look, I think we can all relate to some of the sentiments here on some level, but I just think it's probably not very well thought out, unfortunately. Overthrowing, I don't think I want to be involved in anything to do with overthrowing anyone because I don't want to be called a terrorist or something. Yeah, I mean, it's just, you can see where the sentiments are coming from, right? Like, they're clearly unhappy with the GMC. It's a bit like, it's a bit like anything people are not happy with, they say overthrow it, but then the question is like, what happens next? What do you do next? Like, who's going to take over, and how do you make sure that that's not going to get corrupted and end up with the same sort of issues?
It's just, I think it kind of, there is a whole thing at the moment which seems to be emanating from that subreddit and has kind of like brought its way across the Twitter. And every so often you kind of see posts on Reddit where they'll be like, oh, the virtue signalers on Twitter and stuff. And it's loads of like angry anon accounts that seem to, and you kind of see them recycling themselves on Twitter every so often to like harass people. And they seem like really angry and they keep talking about organizing, and it's never kind of completely seems clear exactly what they want, in the sense that they're like, oh, we need to organize, we need to form like a union. But the only thing that they seem to kind of agree on is that there are people who are telling doctors what to do that frankly shouldn't be, and they don't like PAs, they don't like, kind of nurse specialists. Their kind of appreciation for people within the MDT is, well, basically of doctor supremacy. And I find them a little bit scary.
The doctor supremacy.
Doctor supremacy, literally, that's all it is. That's all they seem to care about. It's just that, like, everyone's getting paid this, and doctors should get paid more than them. And the way they go about it is in this kind of weird incel-like behavior. And also I get the impression that some of these people aren't even like, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be like, oh, you've been like a doctor for 5 minutes, like as if that's like a good point to raise against them. But sometimes I'm like, where is like this anger? It just seems really like I find it disconcerting, and there's plenty of stuff to be angry about, and I just feel like it's really misplaced anger.
I mean, the thing is, like, as a profession, so this person said that, oh, if by January or something we don't have a pay rise, like, what are you realistically going to do? I mean, the truth is, no one really leaves. We talk about, I think there's going to be a few points that come up here with like doctors leave, but no one really does. No one properly leaves. Like, we don't have, I said droves of doctors are going to go to Australia, but no one does. And the government knows that. They're going to play that for as long as they can. They always take advantage of this situation of like the fact that we're actually very bad at taking a proper stand like that.
Yeah.
Right? Because once we're in, you're in. I wouldn't leave.
Yeah, I think go on. I think droves is probably I don't think you're going to get like a mass walkout, but there are like lots. There are people who are leaving, but
fair enough, but not enough that like the whole thing. Because ideally, you'd be doing what the rail people are doing. Like completely just really go for it, and then really show them that you. Do you remember like in Fight Club? So I always think about Fight Club. So do you remember in Fight Club, the commissioner? I'm sorry if I'm spoiling this. Please go watch it if you haven't watched it. But basically all the people in Fight Club who are in this club that fight each other. They're all kind of the waiters, the dustbin men, the security guards, all these kind of the kind of area of society where they're not really the governors and all that kind of thing. And I think the mayor tries to go after the Fight Clubs, and then they kidnap their mayor and they tell him, listen, we're the people that look after you. We're the people that are guarding you. We're the people that bring you food. So if you come after us, we're going to come after you. Because actually, when you looked at it, although on an individual level, the waiter wasn't a big deal, the security guard wasn't a big deal, the garbage man wasn't a big deal, but together they were a very, very powerful cohort of people. And when the commissioner, I think it was the mayor, realized what he was dealing with, he just decided to stop all investigations at any sort of fight clubs whatsoever. My point is, as a collective, you're a very, very strong group of individuals, but we're not a collective about any of this. Because in reality, if we had no pay rise, if you really want to make a statement, we should all be leaving. I mean, that should be it. Everyone resign and everyone just stop. Just stop. No clocking off, none of those things, just stop. Yeah. But I know I'm what I'm like. I'm not going to stop.
Yeah.
It's a job and it pays my bills.
I think generally the kind of accepted thing amongst most people is that the NHS in its current form just lingers on, but just kind of limps until it gradually and slowly, bit by bit, kind of morphs into something else, which is not.
I mean, that's exactly what it. I mean, that's the point, isn't it? And exactly. We've talked about this. Like a lot of the private referrals I'm seeing coming through is all the NHS has taken too long. The NHS has taken too long. The NHS has taken too long. That's exactly what they wanted. They wanted the average person who can just about afford it to save up their money, to go to a private scanner, to go to a private doctor, to go get treated. Because otherwise, if the NHS was any good, they wouldn't do those things. So you're siphoning off a whole lot of people that otherwise wouldn't go private.
Yeah.
That's the bigger game here, and it's working from what I can tell on my very skewed bit of work that I do outside of the NHS.
Yeah, fair enough.
I just think that these kind of statements that you see come up in the Reddits and all this kind of stuff, where they kind of talk all big. I mean, in reality, I really don't think anyone's going to be, making a splinter cell of the GMC and start a brand new GMC, and then counter the GMC. And all this kind of stuff. Like, I don't know, man. Maybe after the last strikes, when I thought we could have it, we didn't have it. We lost it all, and it's like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough.
Come on, man. What's important? Yeah.
So there's this kind of moving to a slightly different topic. There's a tweet from @KillerMartinis. Your periodic reminder that the quote is actually the customer is always right in matters of taste, which is the most hilariously bitchy way to say that actually most customers are wrong, but let them buy gross shit if they want to pay for it. And I guess the reason why I brought that up is because, well, people keep voting for the Tories, so I guess,
I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it. It's an amazing thing to watch, isn't it? The Tories just keep winning, and things are getting worse and worse and worse, and people still vote them in. Like, come on, I don't know. Are they? Someone said that politics is like being famous, but for not as good-looking people or something. Because, and I think, like, is it entertaining? Is it entertaining to watch all this stuff that happens in the Parliament and vote for these kind of, I don't know, for want of a better phrase, bozos? Bundle along, and every Englishman, oh, that's funny. Not realize that everything else is burning around, burning around them, and everything's falling apart. They're like, yeah, but I'm going to vote for the guy with the funny hair, right? I mean, everyone's voting for the guy with the funny hair. I mean, he's got funny hair, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to vote for the guy with the funny hair.
Yeah,
and then wonder why they can't afford anything anymore. It's bad out there, isn't it, man?
It's bad. Do you see that there was that news report? I think I linked it here. The chap who'd broken his pelvis. So, how old was he? So he's 87. So Karen, St. Columbia Road, she sent photos from Cornwall of the shelter they built for her 87-year-old dad who fell on Monday. He waited 15 hours for an ambulance when he'd suffered 7 broken ribs, 2 fractures to his pelvis, and an arm wound. 15 hours for an ambulance.
It's so horrendous, isn't it? Just so horrendous. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there was like a private ambulance service. Like, oh, okay, are they taking too long? Then, give me 50 quid and I'll take you.
Yeah.
I don't know. There must be a reason why they're not funding something as important as their stuff. I mean, come on, getting someone to hospital is an important thing, isn't it?
Mm.
But
what do you think? So Should we move on to like hubris? So there was a tweet that said, if a nurse working with you says, "Hey, I'm worried about," stand up and start walking there before they even finish their sentence.
Oh, really? Yeah. Would you do that?
Would I do that?
Well, with you have to. But I mean, you're married to a nurse, so
you have to do it. I mean, she's worried about.
If Joe said to me, Imran, I'd be like, "Oh, what is it? What is it? What do you want?"
Just go there because I trust her acumen. No, but like,
it's not about acumen. I mean, it's your wife.
Yeah, So, oh my god, why are you coming out this? But like, I get like how the person who tweeted this is obviously doing it. But, I mean,
virtue signaling again.
It's lovely, isn't it? It's a lovely thing to say. It's a lovely thing to say.
Oh, this will get lots of likes.
I love it. Yeah, 9,600 likes, of course. Because, and the implication there is, understandably, that they're going to have lots and lots of experience. And if they're worried about something, if they've got a bad feeling about this, then that's a very sensitive indicator. But like, it lacks nuance, doesn't it? And that's the problem, right? With this phrase like that.
It's oversimplified completely. Because, like, if someone said to me, "This is what you should be doing," then could you not walk up and say, "Okay, look, I've got 6 patients. Okay, this one has got new episodes of melena. This one's vomiting up bright red blood. This one has got raising lactate, abdominal pain, and this one has just come out of surgery and the BP's dropping. So, out of these 6, do you think I should see whoever you want me to see first?" I mean. But that's what's going through your head when you're a doctor running around the wards. You've got these patients that you need to see that are very, very unwell.
Yeah.
Unless someone trumps those ones on any level, you're still going to carry on with whatever list. And just because someone's going to say, "Oh, I'm just worried," when someone says, "I'm just worried about it," you've got to give some sort of context, because the one you're saying you're worried about something, but what about the person who's actually got proven, tearing chest pain? What do you do about that person? And so that's what I mean. I think it does lack some nuance in terms of, you're not understanding where the other person's coming from. If they're not running towards you, they might have something else to do.
Yeah.
They might have other things going on.
There is like a nugget of wisdom to be gleaned from within that whole thing, though. I did kind of find it kind of frustrating. Like sometimes I get calls from nurses who'd be like, "Oh, this person is scoring, the new score is high." And I remember like a particular example from my like nights, a person who's scoring, who had like, who scored because they developed a hospital-acquired pneumonia, and only an hour or 2 before they'd been seen by a colleague and started on antibiotics. Now, that was going to take a while to kind of like make a difference to the fact that they're spiking temperatures and things. And so, but rather than getting frustrated with being asked the same question as your colleague would have done, I think sometimes trying to gauge what exactly they're expecting from telling you that, like, what is it that you think I should, in a nice way, like, do you think there's something that I should be doing on top of what's already going on? Do you think there's something that's kind of missing?
That's a very interesting thing to ask someone, actually. Yeah.
Sometimes I did that last time.
You're kind of trying to find out what the expectations are.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you've called me. What would you think? What do you think? What would you like me to do? Or is there anything particular you'd like for me to do? And at least then you kind of gauge. If they say, "I want you to see this patient," say, "Okay, I've got other people to see. I'll see them as soon as possible." Do you think I need to see them sooner than that?
Yeah. Because sometimes, Because sometimes actually they just want to be like, "Yeah, well, no, I just want to tell you according to the protocol, but I think they're on all the right." I'm like, "Okay, all right, fair enough." But sometimes I think in the past, like I would have like found it stressful because I'd have been like, "Okay, all right, now what?" Whereas like sometimes just asking them and they were like, "I don't know, I just
But the thing is, when you said about nuance being missing, the nuance here that is missing is that you just get up and walk off. But actually, there's a conversation that needs to be had. You can't just expect to run. You can't be in the middle of, like, I don't know, doing a central line and someone says, "I'm worried about something," just walk off and drop. Just drop in the middle. The page is like hosting in the background. But you said that you're worried because it doesn't work like that. There's complexities to this, isn't it?
Yeah.
To the entire thing. There was something about being a dad, wasn't there, somewhere here? I can't remember.
So I think I put that in the sexism column because, being a father. I think it's kind of interesting because, so I'll read it. It goes, "Your kids can see that you can name every footballer in your club, but you don't know their birthdays, allergies, class, or score. They can overhear your mom confront you about your serial cheating, but you never have the time for their open day. Tell them you're too busy providing." And then it goes, "Whenever you're around, everyone starts panicking because you're the larger-than-life human deity who must be feared and worshipped. You're not approachable, the tough guy who never smiles. Your presence means tension for everyone. Tell them you're busy providing. Whenever they try playing with you, you send them to their mother. You've never bathed or fed them. The neighborhood bars have seen more of you than your kids. You'd rather spend time hanging out with your friends than with them. Tell them you're busy providing. And when I saw that, I did think like, oh, it's funny because, fortunately, I use my kids' name and date of birth for my password, so how can I forget them? But like, I guess the point there is that we kind of, I guess the thing that I thought was interesting was the kind of lies that we tell ourselves. And so, like for that example, knowing every footballer in the football team, like, to be honest, I probably could name every footballer who was involved in the 96-97 Manchester United squad. I could probably name every single player. So like, what excuse? Wow. Yeah. So what excuse do I have for like forgetting, I don't know, my wedding anniversary, or like, it just seems kind of interesting, isn't it? Because like, and I guess the point is, if you're really invested, then you'll do it, right? And I think so. When I read that, I didn't think, oh, this is all me, because like anyone who knows me will know that I don't go to bars and stuff. Not because I'm a great dad, but more because of my social anxiety. But my point is that there are things that you kind of tell yourself sometimes that, oh, it's a bit difficult. Like, but actually, that's probably just a lie that you can tell yourself.
You know what? This brings me to a thought. Clearly I think about things too much or something, or take different meanings from things. Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
The entire show, he kept saying, "I'm doing this for family. Everything I do, I'm doing for this family." And I think eventually he admits that everything he's done is because he wanted to do it, he liked it, and he was good at it, and it was actually for himself.
Yeah.
And I think that was an interesting distinction. When I saw that, it did make me think about everything that I'm doing in terms of like how hard, or how much, or I wouldn't say hard. Obviously people work harder than I do, but all the work that you do, and you do try and justify it to yourself that I'm doing it to provide, I'm doing it to provide. But then it's not just that though, is it? You are doing it for yourself on some level. You have to admit that, because otherwise you could be doing other things to provide for your family. You don't have to be doing this. You could do something else, or maybe, I don't know, do less of a prestigious job or less stressful job, make as much money, or you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be this. So you are doing these things because you're good at it, hopefully, and you're doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
And the byproduct of everything is actually, it's nice to be able to provide, but that can't be I don't think that's the primary reason, but I think that's something that we all convince ourselves of. And I think some of this I did, unfortunately, feel like I relate to. Obviously, there's some things I don't, like you said, the bars and all the rest of it, but it's weird that there'll be some things that you just assume is a responsibility of your other half. Like if the kid gets sick, like immediately the assumption is that my wife Rabia is going to be the one to run off and take the time off work and go sort that out.
Yeah.
And I've tried to consciously make that not the case. Like it's not just me, her. It's got to be me as well. I'll try and take time off. I'll be the person that turns up. I'll do the dropping off of school and the rest of it. But it is, it does hit you sometimes. Like, why is that the assumption from myself and others that she's the one that has to deal with all this stuff?
Yeah, it's true. I think the only way you can really do it is with introspection and reflection and thinking about the kind of patterns that we form. Like, but when I'm at home and I'm looking after the kids, obviously, like, I'll give them dinner and do their baths and put them to bed and whatever. I can do it. When Joe's here, like, I'm suddenly like taking a back seat and kind of, catch myself basically. I don't know. You could just, I think they're kind of like patterns, aren't there, that you can kind of fall into and take stuff for granted.
Dude, I don't know about you, but like, let's say the kids are gonna be left with you. Everyone's like, "Are you gonna be okay with the kids? Are you gonna be okay with the kids? Do you want the in-laws to come round? Yeah, you don't want the in-laws to come round to help you." And you're like, but when you're left with the kids, no one asks you, "You're gonna be okay." No one suddenly gets the in-laws to come round and help or any of those things. So why can't I do it if you can do it? I say that, but it's just interesting. The assumption is that, are you going to be okay? Like, why wouldn't I be okay? Like, we're both parents here. And it's not as though I can't do what you do. It's fine. Like, it's not. I know my kids don't like me very much. They always want to have her instead of me. But if I'm left to, there shouldn't be an assumption that I need help.
Mate, So Joe's working all weekend, and like yesterday when Joe was leaving for work, literally both of the kids were like up against the kind of like lounge window, and they're like both wailing, and like people walking by like and they see me like standing by, like, and I don't know, it must be wondering like if they should call the police or something. Like poor children, like let us out. I'm like, oh no, nothing to worry about here, nothing to see here,
mate. I had even worse. Like the other day, we went swimming, and then I took my son to get a shower. And he starts screaming. He wants his mum. He's like, "Relax, man. You know, I'll just quickly take for the shower, and you can get out." So put him in the shower, and then he starts screaming even more.
Oh, no.
I'm like, "Look, people are going to think something's happening, and we just relax. Like, come on, calm down." And then, you know, this is the worst bit. I got the soap, and I accidentally put it onto his eyes, and then he starts screaming. And I swear, I thought, you know what, security's going to come in and knock that door down, thinking that this kid's being hurt. And I'm like, son, I kept saying, son, relax. And I was almost saying it out loud so people understand. Soap has gone in your eyes. It's okay. We're going to wash the soap out of your eyes. Please stop screaming. Please stop screaming. Oh, man. Yeah, these kids are having, I want mom. Go away. All right.
Oh, man.
I'll leave. Fine.
Oh, yeah, I feel you.
Anyway, you do feel that pain.
So
I thought, go on.
There was another tweet, I guess, kind of because we're getting up to time, aren't we? There was one, I guess, that reminds me of. So it's rule number 438 of Twitter, and that's by Rebecca Faulkner, and it says, "Sometimes just take the loss and come back tomorrow." That's how I feel.
Yeah. I feel like, for me, it's the opposite. It's like, and it's not the opposite, it's similar, but just take the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Just whatever it is, just take the path of least resistance, move on. It's just not worth the grief. Like, actually, recently, I was doing some Telluride work, and then I think someone got back to me saying that I'd missed something. But the way they wrote it was a bit condescending. It was a bit like, how could you miss that? And I'm like, relax, bro. Like, we're both, you don't need to be like rude about it.
Yeah.
And normally I let it go, like whatever. But this is probably like, I must have got me a bad time. So I wrote back.
No.
And I said, I don't like the condescending tone that you use.
Nice.
And I think that you should reconsider the way that you give feedback.
Oh, wow,
and then that got sent to the clinical director. And the clinical director messaged me saying, listen, Imran, can we have a conversation, please? So yeah, fine. So I talked to him. And then I thought, why did I do this? I never do this stuff. I always choose a path of this. This is resistance now, because now I have to have a conversation. I don't have time for a 10-minute conversation with someone I don't know. But it's actually a really nice conversation. We just end up talking about discrepancies in general. Everyone makes them. I guess there are better ways of giving feedback, and he'll pass that along. There's no point in having a bit of an altercation over it. We're all professionals. Like, yeah, fine. I was wanting him off the phone, but he was actually quite nice. But I was like, okay, why did I do this to myself? This was not the rule of Imran. Path of least resistance was to forget about it and move on. Don't care what people think. Anyway,
sometimes you
guess I fall into it.
Sometimes can't help but push back, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I think after a while, you know what, mate, I'm not taking that. Don't be like that.
So that person didn't deign to reply, obviously.
No, he discussed it with me and he said, listen, I know this person. They probably didn't mean it in the way that's come across.
It's just the way they are.
Really?
It's just the way they are, isn't it?
Really? But then I thought...
But they didn't reply,
did they? Fine. Yeah, no, they didn't reply because I said, look, don't bother taking any further. It's fine. Just leave it. It's just, maybe you got me in a bad day. I just didn't like the way they said that, but it's fine. Like, for me anyway, maybe it's for everyone, hopefully for anyone else that does radiology, anything in general, I don't see these as discrepancies or mistakes. I always see them as like, it takes me, in the first minute when I get these things, I think, oh, great, I'm the worst radiologist that ever existed. Here we go. Like, I'm terrible. And then I kind of think, you know what, Imran, get back up. You've probably done like, 1,000 scans that you do. You've got this. It happens. And then I look into it, figure out how I missed it. How could I not missed it? Mess around with the system, like the images, manipulate it again and see if I could find it in any other way. And then you learn from it, move on. I mean, that's it. You're done. So anyway, happens to the best of us, man. Yeah. Even though I'm not the best of us, it happens. So yeah. Anyway, learning points. That's all they are.
Yes.
Cool. So hopefully you got your one CPD.
Yes.
It's a learning point for you. There you go, everyone.
Thank you.
So thank you everyone for listening. I think we've gone on for a fair bit of time. Hopefully you're still listening. Thank you as always. Any last words, Tharusha?
Nice knowing you. Those will be my last words.
Yeah. I think that's always going to be the last words.
Yeah.
Anyway, cool. All right then. Everyone have a great week. Look after each other and don't get cancelled. Bye.